today's training day. I've been up for a little bit, but what I'm doing now is I'm going to do some walking and some work, got some program updates and stuff to do, and then, I don't know if you can see outside what the weather looks like, so I'm going to go for a walk outside this morning, maybe like half an hour, 40 minutes or something nice and steady. I just want to get this done first, so this will bump up the steps, so then I've done like 6,000 steps or something before I kind of start the day, if you like. And then I'll get something to eat, and then I'll head to the gym, and it's gonna be incline bench hopefully. Also, my weight is down 2 kilos from one day. Like magic, that, isn't it? So in here today, what I've got is, so this is like a 2.2 litre bottle, I think. So I've got about 1 litre in it, and I've got a sachet of diorolite in it. And the rationale for that is I'm going to be training not super early, but probably will have only had one meal and not a right lot of food. So just to make sure I've got plenty of salts and stuff in. I do find it makes a difference, and especially with having had that cramping feeling, just want to make sure everything's okay. So that's what I'm going to do. Right now, like my pre-work stuff that I'm doing, I rendered yesterday's file and exported it twice now, and it's just come up with a black screen. I have no idea why. I mean, if there was a video yesterday, then I clearly fixed it. If there wasn't, then don't know how to fix it. So if you know, then like put a message below or something, and then I'll answer that with a thank you very much. So that shall be it. I think for food, maybe, I don't know what I'll have. Some kind of protein, some kind of carbs, some kind of fruit. I might have like, you know, that chocolate milky concoction, but then have it with some oats and some fruit as well. And yeah, so I'll see you in the gym. It's going to be good, hopefully. Day one of a new block, always fun. Wasn't going to bother filming all of this, but in my nature, I don't want to have to edit loads of stuff. And in the interest of transparency, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm doing, the whole thing. I said about in the last video or two, I'm doing a few extra bits when I'm warming up. So this is the full warm up. So what I did, I got to the gym, I walked in the gym, I've just done one set of curls with 6 kilo dumbbells for 10 reps. And then I just picked up this band and started filming. So this is what I'm going to do to get warmed up. This might evolve over time as I go. I haven't decided 100% how I'm going to do it. I basically just want to make sure that everything is nice and warm, and because we're running a bit of a hypertrophy type block, we are looking at the structural changes that come along with that. And so with that, it means that we want to stimulate the muscles that I wouldn't always necessarily be using with training, because although strength is my main goal, I do want to be strong everywhere, not just in the power lifts. Don't get me wrong, I love powerlifting, it's great, but I want to be just overall strong. So I don't tend to do a lot of work for my biceps. I don't actually do a lot of like isolation for my pecs either. Calves as well, I rarely train. So I'm going to add some of this volume at the beginning of the session. It's not going to impact the actual session too much. It's just adding that extra bit. And especially with being in a deficit, what it means is that it will help to preserve the muscle that I've got, especially in the movements I'm not training. So if you want to watch the actual training stuff, skip forward 5 minutes or whatever. These are 8 kilo dumbbells. So for these, I want to get like, not to failure, but close. So I reckon it's maybe 3 or 4 reps from failure on that. We're doing it with that kind of technique. Obviously you can do it with different techniques or whatever. Going to do some flies. And even for this, the amount of work you need to do to maintain muscle is so low, so I don't need to do tons of it, but I do want to make sure I'm doing some of it. And I find, for me personally, things like biceps need the frequency, otherwise they seem to just shrink away. And if you watched the video where I did the physique update, obviously I'm not a bodybuilder, so I don't have the eye for it, but to me it looks like my arms are one of the biggest things that's lacking, and my chest obviously. This is mainly, these flies make sure my pecs are warmed up and to desensitize that stretched position so that I don't get that cramping, pulling feeling again. It's also good to make sure that my pecs are fully warmed up before I go into today's session. You'll notice, or you might not notice, I'm going to a fairly big range of motion. I'm also not using that much weight, so I don't think you need to. I have my feet up because I want to. So I think that was 10, 11 reps, something like that. But it felt like I was maybe 5 or 6 reps from failure, but I still don't want to go too crazy on that. So then we have the bands again. Go through this one more time. And then the actual session is incline bench. I don't know off the top of my head what my PB is, but I think I might be starting with a PB session today, so that's always fun. And this is just making sure everything is warm that's relevant. So shoulders, elbows, wrists are the big things for doing the bench session. And then dislocations, I like doing these. My shoulders feel great. What should happen is, so by the time pre-comp I was right at the end here to do these reps. Over the next week or two I'll end up with my hands in on both sides like that to do it without it making me make that face, as my mobility gets a bit better again, because I'm not trying to train the trait of stiffness, just trying to train the trait of maintaining the muscle I've got whilst building some kind of foundation ready for the next block going into competition. So this is it. Now I'm gonna set up the incline bench over there where I normally do, and then we'll start with the work sets. So I'll pause the camera whilst I set this up. Okay, so onto incline bench. The plan is 85 for reps. I had a quick look back through the last training, and I think I managed to hit 80 for sets. So 85 is a fairly big ask, especially now that I'm not peaked. But then we'll just see how it goes. So for this, I'm not looking to do like a big long pause, but I am still going to control the rep down and back up. I also don't want it to be touch and go. It still feels like quite a foreign movement to me, but I can see it having big carryover to my bench. I mean, it really helped last training block. Do I need to set the safeties? Yeah, definitely do. Set them a bit higher. Now the other thing is, it's only week 1 of this phase. So last week, I should have been in the gym last week, and I should have been doing like non-specific training, just general stuff to keep moving. But I was ill, and I was ill enough that I don't think I left the house for the entire week. I had to cancel on clients and stuff like that, which is super frustrating, and even more frustrating. So I cancelled on them, which is it's frustrating for them, and it's frustrating for me. But then, so what I do is give people extra to account for it, and I don't just mean extra in terms of like they'll get those sessions back. I mean extras in terms of on top of what they miss. I give them extras back as well for the inconvenience. Because I think it's just the best way to treat people is how you'd want to be treated, you know? So, if we're going up to 85, 60 is a reasonable jump up next. So I'll go grab these plates, make sure everything still feels fine. Generally speaking, with most injuries, it depends on what the nature of the injury is. When you've pulled a muscle, I don't mean torn, I guess a pull and a tear is the same thing. It's just one's to a more significant extent. Generally speaking, lifting about 80% of your max, you're going to be using the majority of your muscle. So if you can lift 80% without any pain, then your pull or micro tear is probably fine. So that's a good indicator for it. I was going to use velocity on this, but because with bench, like I said before, I only tend to use it above 100. I don't know if I'll bother because I ain't going above 100. But 100 will be a cool side goal to hit on this. Anyway, do this as a warm up, see how it is. That feels fine. Feels a little unstable. And surprisingly again, got that little niggle in the back of my elbow. So maybe the time off wasn't quite enough. So we've got 3 sets of 5 reps with a 3-minute rest with 85 kilos. So I'll go up to 85 for my next set. For my elbow, I thought it was just a case of overuse, which I still think it is. I'll see how this feels and then go from there. Don't think there's any damage done to it. I think again, it's just a thing of hammering so much volume and stuff for time, but with changing the way of training and whatnot, it should be okay. And also that's another reason for adding in the curls. I found in the past, if I do more curls, my elbows tend to feel better. So that's another I'm just giving excuses to do curls. Let's be honest, I just want bigger arms. And I did say in the physique update type video about how I feel although I'm quite heavy for my height, I still don't think I'm that like dense. I don't sound stupid, I don't feel thick, I don't feel chunky. I feel like there's still lots of real estate to fill in on my frame. Like my arms, they feel like they look very thin, I think, and they're not very thick from the side either. So I think there's plenty of space to make them bigger. And although I don't think having bigger biceps will directly improve things, if you look at the people with the big benches, they have big arms. Unless, there's a caveat, unless they bench with a ridiculous arch. But I have no interest in doing that. So, grab a stopwatch, and this will be the first set. So, it is definitely 5 reps. And this first set is going to be a PB. Isn't that cool? New training block. So usually when you're doing a new training block, you get PBs just because you might be doing different movements and stuff. but this is just going to be a PB, because why not? Right, need to take this seriously now. That was odd. Like, it was hard, but I could do it. Pro tip for you, if you're doing incline bench or on anything, make sure it's at the set height that you want. This is at the right height. I thought maybe that was off, but that was tough. I think the motivation here is just to kill me, to be honest. Yeah, that was all right. I felt it mostly. It was just trying to keep in a good position. So now I'm going to stick to the rest on this. Otherwise, the difficulty of this is going to get too high. And for week 1, you don't want that. So I'm doing 4 weeks of, I feel like a little kid on a swing here, 4 weeks of fat loss. Yesterday was day 1. I don't know if the video will have rendered. I was having a hard time trying to get it to save the file properly. It wasn't very exciting. I just went through the full day of what I ended up eating and doing. Today will be more calories, which is handy. All I've had. So today it's early morning. It's not early morning, mid-morning, like 10 o'clock. When I got up, I had some diorolite. I mixed that in with a litre of water because I knew that I was probably going to be training earlier on in the day. So I basically downed that first thing. You can buy like the expensive element stuff and things, but diorolite's got the exact same stuff in, and it's cheaper. It tastes fine. Like, it's literally designed to rehydrate you. So like, I just had that. And then for food, I had that blended shake type thing that I said about yesterday. I ended up having about half of one of them. I couldn't stomach the rest of it. Not because I didn't like it, but just because I wasn't hungry, which again, is a bit of a blessing at this point. In a week or 2, maybe it'll hit me. But it's good to not be hungry. And it's probably just because I'm carrying so much extra fat that my body wants, and I'm bigger than my body wants to be, like weight-wise. It's probably like you've eaten enough. Just stop eating, have a break. Anyway, I really like the layout of this new block. It's the same layout as last time, but it's always good, like a little bit of novelty just in the movements and stuff. Right, there's 3 minutes. This set's going to be better. I can feel it in my bones. When I was learning how to lift, and specifically squats, I remember I bought an iPad 1, and I worked at McDonald's at the time, and it was like £3.50 an hour for the wage or something. So I worked out how many hours it was going to take me to be able to buy an iPad. So I worked those hours, I bought it, and then I used the iPad and I filmed every single set of every single exercise. And then I would go home and I would watch it on repeat until it was perfect. and I had like written in my training diary, so I had a little logbook. Every rep is practice. So it wasn't so much about the weight, it was just practice, practice, practice. And when I changed my framing to that, my squat technique and everything all significantly improved. And that's just reminded me, because this is still quite novel, especially heavy, every rep is just practice. So it's 5 practice reps. So much better, just practice. I did unrack it weirdly though. I don't know why I did that. I think I forgot that I was incline benching and not just benching. Start the timer. So yeah, that was much better. I mean, considering it's a PB, that's not bad, is it? I felt my pec. Like, I don't know if I felt my pec because my pec's working or because it's still not right. I'm gonna assume and hope that it's just because it's working, because I can feel both pecs. And actually my triceps feel like they're blowing up as well, which is good. Intra-workout nutrition. So 2 parts. For the intra-workout nutrition, this is pre-workout because there's caffeine in it. Now, caffeine takes, depending on the person, depending on what else you've got in your stomach, about 10 to 40 minutes to get in. Most people, about 20-25 minutes for you to get the effect. So I like to have about a quarter of it before I start, and then drink it through the session to about midway through the session, so I still have the benefits of it through the whole session, because you will get that caffeine up and down to a certain extent. And then here I've got more salt, sodium, potassium in here. I also have greens powders. The reason for the greens powder is because I'm neutral to positive on it. So I think there might be a small benefit. I don't think it's likely to cause any harm. So that's why I'm having it. Obviously people are in different situations. If you were in a position where you're on a significant budget, I wouldn't bother. But I'm fortunate to be in a position of where I can take the extra thing because it might help. So I will take what might help. And the thing with this as well is, what I do is I put it in that big 2-point-something litre bottle that you'll sometimes see me have. And then I poured out about that much into here, then filled the rest up just with water, just to dilute it a bit further. So that's what I'm having at the minute. And then I was going to keep talking, but stopwatch. Time to go again. So this time, the bench itself was fine. It's the unrack that needs to be better. If anyone has tips on unracking an incline bench from this kind of setup, I'm 100% for it. I don't have a spotter. I don't have someone handing off for me. So like, just general advice on this, I'm very, very much open to. Right. 5 practice reps. Also a practice unrep. Unrack. Dear God. That 5th rep, I felt I come out of position a bit. This pec on the 4th rep, again, I felt it just, it doesn't feel injured, but it doesn't feel right. And so I think I changed the technique on the 5th rep subconsciously. I think I tucked this arm more, so there's more front delt involved. And so I end up just kind of coming out of the bar path, which made it seem like it was super difficult. I mean, it was challenging, but it's cool though. Like PB set of 5 for 3 reps, and usually I adapt fairly quickly to training stimulus. So this will probably improve. But one thing I'll do is, because of doing this little mini cut, so I can stop being Chubzilla, the load progressions won't be as extreme as normal without being in the surplus. So next up is dumbbell press with a nice range of reps, 8 to 15 reps. How very civilized. So I'll go over there. Again, I'll be doing them nice and controlled. I won't be going crazy with the pauses. I also won't be going crazy on the speed. So I'll just, do I need to move this? Maybe I'll move this. Rather than moving the camera, just thought I'd put the bench in here instead. So I'm gonna do, these are massive dumbbells, 10 kilos a hand. I'm gonna start with them just to see what grip feels best. Ideally, I'm wanting to do this as a pec accessory, but it depends on how this pec is feeling. If the pec feels okay, then I will do it as a pec accessory. If it doesn't, I will do it more with a neutral type grip, so it's more of a delt-y, tricep-y type accessory, and then I'll do some really light ones as well, just to get blood flow to the area. So we'll start with this first. I like to do these with my feet up, as you've seen before, because like, although I do have a decent arch when I bench, it's not crazy, but like, it will make a difference, and I want the biggest range of motion possible here that I can. So as I'm coming down, I'm thinking about bringing my chest up as well, so that my pecs can like wrap around my rib cage. But that actually feels okay. It feels a little bit unstable, but that's the skill element as well. Yeah, so that's fine. So there's 10s. I'll go 20s and see how that feels, and then go from there. So the dumbbell rack's just behind you, so you can get out of the way for me. Pretty rude, didn't even move. So we'll go for the 20s. These feel very heavy. So we're looking for 8 to 15 reps, RPE 7 to 8 for 3 sets. And again, 2 minutes rep. Yeah, 2 minutes rep. I think I need to get my eyesight tested. Right, fast set. Oh, here's like a little, here's a dumbbell life hack for you. If you get a box, it's much easier to get the dumbbells onto your lap instead of having to bend over. You just do one at a time. It's much more civilized. Because then all you need to do, if you got the dumbbells here, bring them to the edge of the box, there, and then they're already on your thighs, so all you need to do is lean back, and they're there, and then however you get back is up to you. I like to hug them because I like to use dumbbells that I can actually handle instead of ridiculously heavy ones that I shouldn't be touching. There's a specific person that comes into my mind. I will tell you who it is and what I saw them doing once I've done this set. So, nice and controlled. I think that was 8 reps or 9 reps. So on that, I can honestly say that on my left side, that was RP 0. On my right side, the whole movement was like RP 4 or 5, but this pec, it was like 7 or 8. So what that makes me think is it's just not fully recovered, which is okay because I can train with that, I can work with that. It means I can still do something. So I'm pretty pleased with that, to be honest. I thought pessimistically, I was thinking it was going to take me a couple of weeks to get back to benching, especially with having the food poisoning and then the cold and whatever else. So this is really good. And also, this is the record of me saying that I need to not train like an idiot and stick to sensible loading, and then I will get back to being pretty strong. I think I was pretty strong. Faster by doing things more methodically, because sometimes the fastest way to get somewhere is actually the slow way, because slow is steady and steady is progress, and progress is ultimately what will get you to where you want to be. And I have recalibrated what my goals are. Now this series is called 700. If I don't hit 700 at this next competition, touch wood, I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious. If you get that reference, let me know. So, as long as I stay relatively healthy, as in no major injuries, if I don't hit 700 total or more at this next competition, I'd be very, very surprised. I would have had to mess up significantly, I think, because we know the squats there. The bench, providing this is okay, the bench should be fine. And bear in mind, last time I peaked in 6 weeks to hit the numbers I hit, having gone through rehab for the previous few months. So I'm not having to do the rehab for a few months first this time. I need to do my set. And then I will tell you the thing about the person with the dumbbells as well. I forgot about that. Right. That one again felt just right. Like I was hitting my pec specifically, felt like I got a good stimulus there. And that's another thing. Because this training phase is more hypertrophy based, I'm moving differently to when it's a strength phase, because everything is relevant to the goal. The goal of this is not to lift the biggest dumbbells. The goal of this is to maintain muscle whilst I get rid of some of my fat, and it's to set up a foundation for a big bench in the future. So the thing that I saw, so there was someone who competed at the same competition as I did a week and a half ago. Relatively strong lifter, but had like a 130 bench. So like it's a great bench, don't get me wrong. Anyway, I followed this guy on Instagram and he had a video of him dumbbell pressing the 50s with the 130 bench, dumbbell pressing the 50s. And he had the dumbbells tilted in like this, and he's doing the reps like this, the half reps. He's got his buddy there spotting him. And it's not my place to tell someone else what to do about their training, unless they're my clients, in which case I'd cut that right out, because it's nonsense. But it made me think, like, this is why you only bench 130, because the rest of your training, it just sucks. The quality of it just sucks. And like, if you just make the quality of different things better, you will get stronger. So this guy, I'd put money on that. The next time he competes, he'll make some progress. But, so for context, right? I've been lifting a long time. I'm making decent progress. This person has not been lifting as long, and as evidenced by the numbers as well, is just not as strong. And that's fine too. I bet I will make more progress lifting less weights than he will lifting more weights because of the way I'm doing it. Because all he's doing is training this part of the movement. And this specific guy's bench, this point here is not the problem for basically anyone. Like, if you get a bench to there and you can't lock it out, like, apart from equipped lifting, that's a whole other thing. Like, that shouldn't be a thing. So for him, this is basically a waste of time. It's just for ego. It's not going to help improve his bench, but it's going to cause fatigue. It's all the extra load on his elbows, his shoulders, wrists, even his spine, loading them up. And it's extra training time that you're losing as well. So all of that, it's so inefficient. So yeah, that's my rant about that. And then something that I really enjoyed. So I went and weighed in and stuff and came back, and I was chatting to Rach. She was looking around and she was like, a lot of these people here need to do more rows, don't they? And I 100% knew exactly what she meant, because you look around and it's a pattern you see at all competitions, right? You see the powerlifters that are good, they have a similar physique. They've got a big upper back, smallish waist, assuming they compete in a weight class, big legs. Usually the big benches are quite thick in their upper body. Some of them are broad. You don't always get the broadness. That doesn't necessarily correlate, but their posture's usually good. It's usually like this. But there were so many of usually the younger lifters, their posture's like this. And when they bench, you can see when they come down, they end up in this internally rotated position here, and then they're trying to press from there. Now, I don't know if you know about heaving, but it's where you use essentially momentum and leg drive to help get the bar moving. If you have your shoulders pinned in this position there, you can let your traps come up as you bench and get some extra oomph. However, if you're in this position here, not only is it a bigger range of motion, you've got more chance of an impingement there, and you've got nowhere to get that extra oomph. So, just looking at everyone, it's like, needs to do more rows, needs to do more back work, needs to do something to sort out the posture. And then it's reflected in the way they deadlift as well. I've been resting far too long. Last set of these. This is the problem, right? I'm by myself talking nonsense, and I will talk forever about training and nutrition and stuff. When there's someone else in here, it'll take even longer because I'll talk to them and every single thing about training I just don't shut up about. Right, time to shut up, do some work. Perfect. That was bang on target for what I wanted it to be. Felt it right in the pecs. Good pump, good stimulus, no pain. My pecs just feel like I've worked them, but they're not in discomfort. So tomorrow is going to be lower body, and then tomorrow's going to be lower body, and the day after is bench again. It's relatively heavy. I think maybe like 130-ish or something. Relatively heavy for sets. So next up we have 3 sets of laterals and 3 sets of triceps. So here's another thing. When you're doing lateral raises, there's different ways of doing them. I'm going to do the lateral raises in a bodybuilding-esque type fashion, or how I would program them for hypertrophy. So that means I'm not going to be using any crazy weights. Move out the way again. Right. You keep not moving out of my way, it's really awkward. Let's go with 8. 8 kilo dumbbells seem reasonable for this. So for this as well, it's RPE 7 to 8 again. So RPE 7 to 8 is a rough range. It's a rough stimulus you're looking for. You want to be close to failure, but not actual failure, because this is going to progress week on week. And then the rep range 8 to 15 is so broad, because from a hypertrophy perspective, it's not that it doesn't matter, but it's not going to make a big difference. If I hit 16 reps to get to RPE 7, that's fine, but that means I need to go up in weight. If I only hit 5 or 6 reps and it's at RPE 8, then I need to drop the weight. So I'm looking for this as like an average across the sets. So I'll do the first set. I've got 8 kilo dumbbells. I was going to explain why I do them the way I, but I'll just show you. So I felt about right. Last couple could have gone maybe a bit higher. Now when I'm doing them, start my timer again. I'm trying to get to a similar end point each time, and in my mind I'm thinking lead with the elbow. It depends on how good your shoulder internal rotation is as to whether or not you can do that. So if your shoulder internal rotation is not great, you're not going to be able to have your hand lower than your elbow, but if it is, you are. This is why lots of people struggle with upright rows, because if you don't have that internal rotation as you come up, you either end up with an impingement or you end up having to do them like this, and then it kind of becomes a bit front raisy, which is obviously not the target of what you're doing. So that's set one, and I can definitely feel the burn in my shoulders. I'm starting to get warm now as well. That's cool. Like, actually feel like I'm training a bit. So this morning I walked for about half an hour, 40 minutes or so on my treadmill whilst I was working, and then I went out for a walk outside for another 30-40 minutes. So I've already done like, I think about 80 minutes of walking. So let's call that 8,000 steps. Whilst I've been in here, say like another 1,000 or something. Nothing crazy. So the reason I'm telling you this is I've stopped using. I decided I didn't want to keep wearing the watch. It was annoying me. And I'm not like, it's not going to change my behaviour that much unless I've got a day that's out of the ordinary, then I'll probably wear it. So like my normal days I'm in control of. So what I've done is I've got a little whiteboard. I say a whiteboard, it's like a kid's thing. So they can doodle on it, you just press delete and it clears the whole thing, but I find it super helpful for work. I write on that 120, and then I just mark off whenever I've done the walk. So 40, 40, so I've got another 40 to do. So I'll hit my 12,000 steps. I don't mind if I do a bit too much. And then the cardio, last night, let me just do another step. The other thing is, I'm leaning back against this. I'm not, something it's a pet peeve, is when people are doing curls or raises or front delts, is when they do this chicken motion whilst they're doing it. Like, what the hell is this? Like, do the exercise for the muscle you're training. Anyway, I'm going to do it now. So I'm not like a hypocrite. Right. That's too heavy. But I didn't quite hit my reps. Just grabbing some different dumbbells. Need to finish this off. I think I did do 6 reps. Oh, that was harder than I expected. So clearly 8s are too heavy for me on that. So I'll use the 6s for the next set. What was I saying? Oh, the thing about people doing like chicken reps as they do it. I don't understand the point of that. Like, it just looks silly and you're not targeting what you want to target. So when you're doing lateral raises, if you have a way that you're doing it and you can feel it in your side delts, you're getting a good stimulus, you're safe, it's not causing you pain, have at it, go for it. But doing this, when you do it, this whole bit from here to here is it's a waste of time because you're using gravity, you're using your legs to help you with the movement instead of your shoulders. And like, so actually, one of the questions I got in the team chat, not the athletes one, the free open one, you can join if you want. Again, I don't know if the link will be up in time. If not, Instagram, Dr. Adam Sawyers, send me a message, I'll send you the link. He asked about if you wanted to look muscular, where would you put your time for training? And honestly, lots of people are like, squat, bench, deadlift. To be honest, I wouldn't. What I would probably do is I would spend loads of time on laterals because like having big shoulders, having broad shoulders makes you look infinitely bigger. Like if you look at me from the front, because of my shoulders being broad, it makes me look fairly big. It also makes my waist look smaller even though I'm not super lean. Whereas if you look from the side, I would need to have massive pecs for this to stick out. But from the front, side delts going to make you look more muscular. So I'd spend time on side delts, triceps a lot. And to be honest, I'd probably train forearms more, because most scenarios, that's what people could see. Although I don't agree with it as an approach, if I wanted to just look bigger, that's probably the approach I would take. I think I would just wear jeans all the time, something. Because training legs don't make your upper body look bigger, obviously. Obviously, I don't condone that. My whole thing is I want big legs. I want to squat 300 kilos. But yeah, that was the thing. I revised my goals now. So 700 for February, and then new series. If you got to this point, leave a comment below as a vote as to what the next series should be. Should it be 750 or 800? Because if it's 750, it might not take that long. If it's 800, it might take me like 5 years. That's going to be like over 1,000. Yeah, let's do 800. I still can't figure out if it's going to be possible. Because the squat I could see happening, especially if I go with like a monolift or go down a different route. But that's not something I'm doing now or intend to do anytime in the near future. But if I do go down the other route, if you don't know what I'm talking about when I say the other route, then it doesn't matter. And if you do know what I'm talking about when I say the other route, then you'll understand what I'm talking about. So if I do go down the other route at some point in the future, 800 definitely possible. If I don't go down the other route, it still might be possible, but I can't figure out, I can't wrap my head around the numbers, I think. So the 300 squat I can, the 180 bench I actually can. So I know I only hit 160, but I think 170 is there. So 180 is not too much of a stretch. It's the deadlift conventional that I am struggling to see. I think I'll need to put about 10 kilos of muscle just on my hamstrings. Right. Just going to quickly go pee, and then I'll come back and do this last set of these. I'm back. Everything went well. My hands are clean because I washed them because I'm a grown-up, and this is what you should do. I'm going to remind you every single video to wash your hands. Anyway, last set of these. So I've gone with the 6s this time. That was a good set. That was good. I liked that. Now, cable triceps. I'm going to see how this elbow feels on push downs, see how that is. If that's no good, then I'll go with the rope and do overhead. It's literally just a tricep accessory. So I'm just going to put these few bits away. I'll shift the camera and then we'll chat in a second. Okay, so triceps. Let's see how this feels. Doesn't feel great on that. I wonder if it's just a case of the loading. See how this is. Nah, that does not feel nice. So instead, I will look at doing an overhead extension and see how that is. Nope, That's significantly worse. So I want tricep accessory that's not going to irritate my elbow. Let's try with a different grip. It might be a case. Let's try this. Here's something for you. There's something called reciprocal inhibition. So pain is a gated system. So if you've got stimulus in one place, it can remove the pain from another place. So I don't think there's any structural damage here. So if I have to grip this extra hard, this might make it nicer on my tricep. It did not. So that's no good. Let's try this. I'm doing it on this side because it's this elbow that's uncomfortable. Could try with this grip. Nope. This grip. That's okay. But it's not going to be heavy enough to get a good stimulus. I wonder what press-ups are like. I'll try that. Nope. That's the same sensation. Right. What we'll do is we'll go and try. We could try it with a straight bar. I feel like this is not likely to work, but it's worth giving it a go to see how it is. So obviously that's fine because there's no load there. Just put a reasonable amount of load on. See how this feels. Oh, we might have something here. This could work. So I might just increase this. And then the load is going to need to be split between the two because otherwise it's not heavy enough. And we might have a winner. See what this is like. Somehow, this actually feels alright. So I'll just keep the tempo nice and controlled. It's just starting there, but I'm not quite at my target RPE yet. So what I'm going to do, this is not something you'd see me do often, I'm going to do a drop set to see how this is. Nah, still uncomfortable. So, push downs are not great. Overhead triceps, not great. What I might try is like a cross-body French press type thing. But to be fair, I could do that on a cable and see how that feels. So this is live inner workings of my mind as I'm going through this to find something that will work as a suitable accessory. Because the thing is, the pain was like, it was present when I was incline benching, but not noticeably. So it wasn't really a concern. So have a look at this, see how this works. Nope. That actually works all right. So if we keep this here. Yeah. That was actually great. I could feel a good pump in my tricep, no elbow pain at all. That'll do. So for future me, this is on 11. The weight is only on 5, which is not much. So that's a nice thing, isn't it? When you don't have to use much weight on stuff. Now let's see how it is on the other side. Yeah, just making sure I get the setup the same. So we're gonna have arm out at the side there, keep my hands stable, try and keep my elbow fixed, straighten my arm out there. There we have it. That's going to be my go-to tricep movement for a little bit. It's not one I've done for a very long time. So what I was thinking of was a press of like with a dumbbell, like this, laid on the back. But the problem with that is, obviously the weight of the dumbbell is going to get in the way. I didn't want to do skull crushers because I know for a fact the skull crushers are going to irritate my elbow. Even though I love them, I want to get this gone. So I want to just try and avoid anything that I don't have to do to make sure it's okay. So I have to do the incline bench. It's such a good accessory. So I can tolerate. The pain is not. When I talk about the pain of it, it's like a 2 out of 10. Like it's barely anything. But it's right at the point of where my tricep attaches. So it's probably some tendonitis of the tricep itself. I'm not 100% sure why, because it's different to the pain I get or got leading up to the competition. So the pain up to the competition, that tends to be in the joints, and that's less pain, and it's more like just general aching and fatigue. So that's fine, that's expected. This is novel, this is new. I'm falling apart, but this is part of any like, I was going to say elite, but I don't think I'm elite, but any like advanced sports or anything, trying to do anything to a high level, it's not a case of if you get injured, it's when. Like it would be unusual to have a high level athlete that doesn't have a niggle at some point, apart from when they're like peaked. And when they're peaked, obviously you want to remove that. But if you never trained because something was uncomfortable, you would just literally never train. Or at least I wouldn't. Right. Let's do a couple of sets of this. And do a bit of stretching today. So I'll do this set and then I'll talk about the stretching. So arm straight. I'm just repeating this to myself so I get it enforced in my head exactly how I'm doing it. So arm straight, elbow out. I really like that. Stretching. What I'm doing is I'm going to stretch lower body on upper body days and stretch upper body on lower body days, and then stretch whole body on rest days. When I say stretch, I mean like I'll pick 2 or 3 stretches and just sit in them more or less until I get bored, or for a couple of minutes. It's not going to be anything super exciting. Big ones for me, hip flexors, from sitting a lot and from squatting a lot, and then glutes, again from squatting a lot. I tend to find my glutes get tight, which then pulls on my lower back, so then my lower back gets really tight and stiff, and although it's not painful, it's uncomfortable. It almost feels like I've got a pump like 24/7 in my lower back when I'm squatting heavy, which obviously I'm not doing that yet. So I like to, with all of the traits, I've said about this before, with all of the traits, it takes a different amount of time for different traits to dissipate. So certain traits will last longer than others. So for example, hypertrophy training, you will build muscle, it takes a long time, but it also takes a long time for it to go away. So like if I stop training now, I wouldn't suddenly become 60 kilos next week. Like I'm 95 kilos now. It's going to take a while for all this muscle to disappear. So that's a trait that will last a long time. That's why we don't need to constantly be hammering in it when hypertrophy isn't the goal. Strength, similar, but not quite as long. So I could not train for a while, come back in a month or two, and still be able to squat 200 kilos plus without having done anything, because that trait sticks around for a while. Whereas there's other traits that are quick to come and quick to go. So power, so jumping, explosive, plyometric stuff. I feel like I need a bra for that. Quick to come, quick to go. So those traits, you want to train them when you need them. So it's a similar thing with the stretching of I'm not looking to become a yogi or to be able to do the splits or whatever. It's a temporary relief of the stretching to help support the other goals. So it will come and then that trait will gradually disappear towards the competition where I'll get stiffer and stiffer and stiffer, which is better for powerlifting because you want to be like this solid unit just for the lifts that you're doing. It's only one plane, it's very simple. Same thing with fitness. So with the cardio stuff, I talked about this before. Start cardio high. So at the minute, the goal is 45 minutes a day, every day, and that's going to taper down as I get close to the competition. It's the added benefit of that it is just burning extra calories, but that's not the main reason for it. The reason for it is fitness, cardiovascular fitness. And then that'll disappear as I get towards the competition. Anyway, I need to concentrate. I'm really trying when I do these not to let my elbow move backwards and forwards and to keep it relatively fixed so that it's just moving at the tricep, moving at the elbow, so it's the tricep that's moving. But anyway, so different training traits, different time frames. So loads of cardio, loads of stretching now, competitions over here. So cardio and stretching high, lower and lower and lower and lower, competition specific training, low, higher and higher and higher and higher. Always keeping in the background goal of still the goal is the powerlifting, the strength. So I've got 3 red slots, we'll call them 3 primary slots. So the squat one is the heavy singles. I think it's like 3x1 at 230 or 220 or something like that. So it's keeping the skill of the movement. Deadlifts, similar thing, 3x1 at like 220 or something. So they're heavy, but compared to my maxes, they're not that heavy, but they're heavy enough to keep the skill. And then the bench, for me, my bench main movement is touch and go. Despite it being paused in competition, my touch and go is worse. So we're just using that to improve the competition one. And the touch and go tends to be better to train from a fatigue perspective, at least for me anyway, probably because I'm weaker. So as we get close to competition, the loads will get heavier and heavier and heavier. When we get close to the competition, the touch and go bench will become a pause bench again. My main accessories, so my accessories for my squat, the main accessory is, lost my mind, beltless squats. So we're still keeping specificity high. For deadlift, my main accessory is deficit deadlifts. So again, specificity is fairly high, but the load is significantly reduced. And then the second accessory for my deadlift is the front squats, because it's about maintaining that thoracic extension. It's not so much the quad movement. My quads are not limiting my deadlift. To be fair, they're barely limiting my squat. My limiter in my squat and my deadlift are both probably my back and my glutes. So we're doing stuff to work on them. For bench, main movement is touch and go bench. My accessory for bench is pause bench. And then my tertiary accessory for bench is the incline bench, which you've seen today. Now each of these will change through the different training phases. And there's all the auxiliary stuff of like the dumbbell presses, the triceps, the leg work, the whatever else. And then there's the like fluff, which I should think of a better term than fluff. Basically the muscles that are directly involved, like the biceps, the calves, the tibs. I do find training calves and tibs makes my knees feel better, and that's a trend I see across all my athletes. It makes their knees feel better when they're doing high volumes of squats, so I'll do them before my lower body sessions. And then back work is mostly just to support the other stuff, the structural stuff. And also, like from like a genetic perspective, my back seems to respond to not a lot. So like, again, I'm aware I'm carrying lots of body fat. I don't look like a bodybuilder or whatever. But with that said, you've seen how little back work I do, and like the muscles in my back are fairly like well developed, for saying how little I do. So it's not like I need to do loads of extra work on that anyway. So it's just enough to have the crossover to the other lifts. And if I was like in a complete time crunch, I probably wouldn't bother training my back much. I'd maybe just do some like pull-ups or something just to keep that range of motion, and because I think you should be able to do pull-ups. I think like it's one of the exercises where it could quite literally save your life one day. If you're hanging off something, you need to be able to do a pull-up. Also, I like doing muscle-ups, so I like to keep some kind of pull-ups in, so I know that I can still do muscle-ups. This is going to be set 3. You know what? I'm going to pause this and just double check and make sure I'm doing it right. Yep, I've done 2. One last one to go. Also, I've just seen the time. I have a meeting in 10 minutes. This could not have worked out better for time. Last one. I'm really trying to keep my upper arm still. Might have been a smidge above RPE. It's good though. I really like that. Like, my tricep feels huge. I know it's not, but it feels it. This is the other reason why I'm doing bicep stuff. Like, look at the size of my arm. Like, this is all tricep. This tiny little thing here is bicep. So as much as I like to say it's powerlifting and stuff, I do want bigger biceps. Also, at that last competition, a guy who came second in the juniors, good squat, good bench, good deadlift, like good lifter. We spoke on Instagram actually. If he did like so he's a bodybuilder, if he did a specific training block for powerlifting, I think he would hit 700, 750 with no problem. His lifting was good, but the most impressive thing was he got on the podium. After the podium, he stood there and went like this. And I stood next to Rich. I was like, Jesus, like that's the most impressive thing I've seen today. His biceps, I swear, were the same size as my quads. And I think we're a similar body weight. So like, one day, when I stand on a podium, if I ever stand on, to be fair, I came second. The guy that won's on like the GB squad, so It's like just a little bit better than me. Only totaled like 100 and something kilos more than me, which is insane. But yeah, that's like a small extra little motivation to do more bicep work. It's just to have bigger biceps because they look cool. Come on. That was good. Like that was a good lift. So 6 minutes now to the next meeting. I don't know if it cut off, but that alarm just went off to tell me that the meeting is in 5 minutes. So we're getting closer and closer. Now, I'm going to be naughty. I'm not going to stretch right now. I'm going to do the meeting. It's only like half an hour meeting, so it'll be fine. Then I'm going to stretch afterwards. I'll go home. I'll do my cardio this evening. Yesterday's cardio was like 57 minutes or something because I kind of just forgot whilst I was doing it. And now the last thing I need to do is to get something that I can use for a thumbnail for this. So I'm going to like stand here and like slightly flex a little bit and look off into the distance. Do you think that was a good thumbnail? I'll know if that was a good thumbnail because you'll have watched the video and made it through to the end. Right, guys, I will see you tomorrow. Take care. You probably know by now that I like to have the occasional rant. So I've just been to the shops to pick up some bits and pieces, some food and stuff. And the way some people behave, it's like they were never taught any manners by anyone ever. So there's two things, well, three things actually. The first one, this little old lady, and she was looking up at the top shelf, and you could see she wanted something up there. And I was watching, I was kind of at the other end of the aisle, and I saw she kind of turned around as a couple of people walked past and sort of like gestured towards them, just walked straight past her. So I went and I asked her, are you trying to reach up there? Got the stuff down for her. That's the first thing, like, just help people. And the next one was, when you get to the checkouts, the people working on the checkouts, sometimes they're super happy and sometimes they're miserable. If you spend every day scanning and scanning and scanning and scanning, and then every person you see is just as miserable to you, like, they're still normal people. You can still be polite to them. Like, people don't say please, they don't say thank you. So just like, be a normal human being. These people, like, they're doing such an important job of like, this is how we get our steak and all the other good stuff like potatoes. So like, just be nice to them. And if you're polite to them and they don't want to talk, great, leave them alone. But like, just looking at people, everyone in the queue is like so miserable. Like, fair enough if you're miserable, but don't take it out on the person that's working there. They're just doing their job. They're just trying to earn a living and doing what they need to do. So be nice to them. And then the last thing, this is the one that was the most frustrating about the human race. Another little old lady had fallen over, and the only person that was there to help her was what I presume was her husband, the man that was helping her. And so I was at the other end of the car park when I saw this lady on the ground, and by the time I got from the other end of the car park to where she was, there must have been 6-7 people that all walked past, looked and kept going. So obviously went up, made sure she was okay, got her up and stuff like that, and it turned out she was fine. But like, people just so absorbed by their own world and their own little bubble that like, you can be nice to other people and it costs you nothing. Anyway, I realise this has got nothing to do with training and I look like a crazy person. Just a public statement for all 8 of you that watch this. Be nice people. Be nice to people. Anyway, I'm going to now end the video, unless there's something else I decide to rant about today, but who knows. And I will see you tomorrow for some squats at 215 triple, I think, with no belt. Yeah, we'll talk about that tomorrow. Take care.